Thanks for joining. I'm going to mute everyone now so you can put on any music that you might want. I've not done a specific playlist, but there are a couple on my profile that you can just scroll back and there should be some to choose from. Okay, so hang on, get myself sorted. Okay, so we're going to get started seated today. So come to find a nice comfortable seat. If you've got props and you want to sit up on them, as always, you are welcome to do so. Got little bits of incense all over my mat, so if I get up and I've got like a brown bum, that is why. Hopefully it will be okay. So coming to find a seat, and it could be cross-legged or kneeling. You could have your legs stretched out in front of you. It's really up to you how you come to sit, but come and get nice and comfy so that your spine can be really lovely and upright. You can even lean back against a wall, or if you've got a sofa behind you or anything like that, you're welcome to always lean back. But finding a seat that you can rest in and stay upright in. And we'll rest the hands in the lap, sorry, not on the lap, in the knees, on the knees, palms facing up. So we're kind of open to receiving this afternoon, bringing a little energy into the body and into the practice. And just feel your shoulders as they shrug down your back. And when you're ready in your own time, just come to close down your eyes. And we're just going to take a couple of moments here to get centered, taking these first few breaths of the practice to land, feeling your sit bones, your hips really rooting down into the floor. And just really starting to feel your physical body grounding. And so the practice today, the kind of shapes that we're creating, of course, it's yin, so it's always going to be very slow and restoring and nurturing and healing. But the kind of the energy that we're channeling through our practice is going to be focusing on a little more of that kind of prana, so more of a lifted energy. We're going to kind of hopefully bring some more revitalized energy into the body as this kind of midday pause, but it's also like a midday reset to kind of refill you with whatever it is that you need. But before we get into that, just take a few moments here right at the beginning to land. So noticing your physical body as it settles into the space. Noticing what parts of your body are connected to the floor. And seeing if you can really allow those spaces to get heavy, to fall deeper and more wholeheartedly into the earth. Check in and feel perhaps any parts of your body that are connected to another part of your body. So maybe you notice the weight of the backs of the hands or forearms or wrists as they rest on your knees. And then kind of counter this more grounded, rooted energy, this apana, this kind of downward flow of energy. Now by just noticing what is more uplifting through you. So can you start to feel that as the pelvis grounds, as the hips really get heavy, we then can grow a little longer and taller through the rest of the spine. It's almost like the vertebrae that build your spine, that make up your back body, are just gently starting to elongate and almost kind of pull and stretch apart a little. And as you lengthen up this space of the spine, feel the back of the neck elongate. So maybe you notice that actually just with that awareness, you lift a little taller, the crown of the head grows a little higher. And as your crown grows towards the sky, the chin falls parallel to the chest. So we're not jutting the chin up or rolling it all the way down. It's nice and neutral. Feel this wash of softness that moves across your forehead, your eyebrows, your cheeks, your jaw, your mouth, your tongue. Feel a little softness here through the throat, through the space of the heart, through the space of the ribs, the belly. And almost think about or kind of visualize yourself here sitting as a whole, as if you were just seeing a picture of yourself or kind of looking from outside of your body at yourself. And feel this sense of really being centered. And then to move our awareness kind of from the physical, from the external, now into our internal landscape, our internal dialogue and our mood and our energy and our breath. We're going to start by actually taking 2 really long and deep clearing breaths all together. So we begin here by filling up with a huge breath in through the nose. And at the very top, open the mouth wide and clear all of the air. And again, we're going to take a huge drink of breath in. And at the top, we open the mouth and clear it out, let it go. And then closing the mouth, we start to move into this smooth pattern and flow of breath. And I want you to start to come into this energetic Nadi Shodhana. So we're going to talk about Nadi Shodhana in just a little bit. It's an alternate nostril breath. But actually, before we take the hand to the face and block off each nostril, I just want you to take a couple rounds of this more energetic, focused Nadi Shodhana. So what I mean by this is when you breathe in next, think about the air almost just flowing in through your right nostril. So you breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then as you exhale, imagine that you're just breathing out through your left nostril for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale left for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then exhale right for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale right, 3, 2, 1. Exhale left, 3, 2, 1. Inhale left, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale right. And just keep this going, this kind of rhythmic, methodic breath that flows in through one side, out through the other, in through that same side, and then out through the other. Again, we're not actually using the hands to block each nostril. It's just an energetic focus of the breath. So Nadi Shodhana is a balancing breath. It's a balancing between our right side, which is our kind of sun side, our yang side. This is the more masculine energy, the part of our energy that wants you to get through stuff and complete stuff and be busy or productive or move lots. And then our left side is our more kind of feminine side, our yin side, or our moon side, which is a little more maybe introspective, finding contentment amongst calm and amongst stillness, and taking on this energy of being and maybe not doing. And neither is better or worse. Sometimes we can kind of depict the yin and yang as this is good and this is bad. We need both, and we need both in different amounts of balance through different parts of the day to get our stuff done, basically. So, we need more yin in the evening to calm and relax and go to sleep. And we need more yang in perhaps the morning or the middle of the day to work through whatever we have to do that day. But as it's kind of split in the middle of the day, this is when we're going to try and reset this balance. And for most of us, we tend to lean towards one or the other. And in yin yoga, of course, we're balancing more or we're creating more yin. But actually through today's practice, we're going to try and find this balance, even though we're doing yin, by working with postures that are maybe a little bit more stimulating to create that yang. But as you breathe here, just imagine that you are starting to kind of reset and tip your almost that kind of seesaw into a sense of center. Now, for the next couple of rounds, we're not going to be here for too much longer. But for the next couple of rounds, you can stay with inhaling up one side for 4, exhaling the other energetically, or you can take your full Nadi Shodhana with your hand. So a couple of options for the mudra. You're welcome to blink your eyes open if you want to see. You can either take your first 2 fingers together of your right hand, pop them on the space in between your foreheads with stimulating third eye, and then use your thumb and your ring finger to close off alternate nostrils. The other way of doing this is curling your first, middle, and ring finger into the palm and using your thumb and your little finger to close it off. It's up to you. I quite like fingers on third eye just because it stimulates that kind of wisdom center and it feels nice. So it's up to you. If you're joining me, just start by taking a neutral breath in through the nose and then just exhaling all of the air out. Keeping the head lifted and the spine long, we block off the right nostril, inhaling through the left for 4, 3, 2, 1. Close it and exhale right for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale right, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale left, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale left, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale right, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale right, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale left, and keep this going so you don't have to work with my times if that sped you up too much or slowed you down too much. Work on your own, and it might not be so smooth, but we're aiming to kind of create those smooth, even counts. In for 4, out for 4, in for 4, out for 4. If you struggle with hay fever or you're just a little bit bunged up, then don't feel like you have to do the hand mudra and blocking off nostrils. Just come back, hands on the lap, and breathing in energetically up through one side, energetically down through the other, in through that side, before out through the other. We're just going to take about one more full round. And when your next exhale releases on your left nostril, relax your hands back down. This time palms flat onto your knees. Take a full inhale in through the nose, filling yourself all the way to the top. And then open the mouth and release the air. Now from here, a little strange, we've been starting yin like this for the last couple of weeks and I'm quite enjoying this more intuitive approach. I'd like you to ideally keep your eyes closed and just start to move your body. So I know that that can be a daunting task if you're a little newer to the practice or my practices or moving in this way, but try to lean into any discomfort that maybe that task creates and go for it anyway. So if your neck feels quite sticky, the head is a lovely place to start. You might just start to circle through your chin. And then maybe you feel like, okay, my shoulders are a little bit sticky and you roll them. Maybe you feel like your spine feels a little stuck and you start to work through cat-cows or even seated circles with your torso. Maybe your arms even start to get involved. So you can go as big or as small as you need to. Again, see if you can practice really staying aware. This is something that we're going to be talking about a little bit later when we enter our first couple postures. But yoga really is all about awareness, and only when we are aware of kind of where we're at is when we can take what we need, we can create a practice that is nourishing, not only on a physical level, but an energetic level as well. And that's usually when we kind of step off the mat and feel really revitalized and lifted, is when we've taken truly what we need and not pushed or struggled through stuff that maybe isn't so serving. So check in with yourself. And if you feel like actually you need something soft and slow, maybe you're actually still for the next couple of breaths, staying with that fullness of breath. Or maybe you feel like actually you've got a lot of stuff that is stagnant and needs to be shaken up through your body. So maybe you do this opportunity to shake it around a little bit. I'm so sorry if you just had this spine cracking. It's disgusting. When you're ready, find center, blink the eyes open, take an inhale, let's circle the arms up towards the sky. And then exhale, squeeze the shoulders back together, create a little cactus shape of the arms, just rolling open through the chest. We're going to release the fingertips to the floor, help the knees come together, and move your way up onto your hands and knees for me. As you arrive on your hands and knees, finding a tabletop shape, just take a couple breaths to, again, work through maybe some cats and cows to start with. Inhaling to lower the belly, lift the heart, lift the hips. And then exhaling to round the spine. If this turns into something different, then again, let yourself move into that. I find that practicing in my living room means that I start to pretend I'm a contemporary dancer basically and just wiggle a lot. If you feel the same, then go for it. Otherwise, maybe you stay in more traditional cat-cow. So checking in, taking whatever it is that you need. Maybe even popping up onto the fingertips as you round the spine just to work deeper into the back body. Good, last exhale just to do whatever you're doing. And then from here, we're going to curl the toes underneath you. Keep the feet and knees about hip width. I'm going to get my timer ready and I'll start it now because I won't make you stay here for too long. Okay, you're going to start to walk your hands back. And as you walk your hands back, you start to sit your hips onto your heels. I'm afraid it's toe squat again. It's come back to haunt us all. This is such a good posture for your feet. I can't even tell you how great this is for your feet, even if it's not fun. You might come up onto your fingertips. If you feel like actually you're okay with this, you can walk your hands up onto your lap. That's really up to you. And then pause. Let the hands rest down or again up. If you feel like you need to receive some stuff today, if you need to receive some energy or you need to receive some strength, maybe palms up to receive that, or down if you just need to settle everything. So again, up to you. And then we breathe here. We're not here for too long. We kind of did a record time last week. We won't be there for as long today. Come back to your breath, back to that smooth movement of breath. Inhaling to fill yourself all the way up. And then exhaling just to empty. To let yourself free up, to let yourself go. Maybe you find a little connection to dry breath here, this fuller, deeper, more powerful movement of breath that we take by breathing through the nose, but hugging the walls of the throat towards one another. So we always create this kind of smoother, narrow gap for the breath to move in and out. It almost feels like you're absorbing the breath through the back of the throat and into the chest, as opposed to just kind of sniffing the air in and out. Here for just another couple breaths. If you're upright, try and lengthen your tailbone down and lean your upper chest back. If you're upright and it's not enough, slide your knees forwards so you're creating more of an arch through your feet. Good. Last breath in. Last breath out. Drop your hands, pick up your knees, so coming onto the balls of the feet, and then slowly start to walk your hands back towards your toes. They don't have to be in line, but we're coming close. In slow motion, you're going to drop your heels to the floor. Make sure that as you work through this little cycle to lift the bum, you're trying to keep as much contact of your upper body to your lower body as possible. So once you start to drop your feet flat, then begin to lift your hips and lower your head until you can start to feel a little sensation starting to trickle through the backs of the thighs. We're moving into a just kind of like a dangling forward fold here. Okay. So nice and soft through the knees, making sure that you're not locking out any joints. In Yin, because the idea is the muscles are starting to kind of switch off, so that we can target the bits behind the muscles. We can target connective tissue, we can target the fascia, we can target into more of the ligaments, not stretching ligaments, but placing a light stress on ligaments so that they continue to heal and grow really healthily, and it helps the flow of prana. A lot of yin is about this flow of energy. But with that said, just be really mindful that we're not locking out the joints and putting loads and loads of pressure into the joints. We want to keep it nice and soft. So the muscular structure is there to hold you and support you. And then once it's there, that's when our kind of roll comes in, to soften. So our only real job through the practice is to breathe and let go, which I know is sometimes a lot easier said than done. And that's why we soften, to make that job a little bit easier. If you feel like your arms are just kind of hanging, they don't really know what to do with themselves, it can feel really nice to hold on to opposite elbow. If you are holding on to opposite elbow, I'll cue when we'll switch our arms or elbows, just so again you're nice and even. Feel the crown of the head completely relaxing. So again, we come back to that awareness of the spine and feel how beautiful and long the spine is here. It's not rounded. We're not putting loads of pressure on your lower back because your knees are soft. The sit bones are tilting towards the sky as the head relaxes and lets go. If you're holding onto opposite elbows, switch the arms. So you're holding onto the other one, or you're changing the cross of your forearms, I should say. Have a little notice, or have a little play with just noticing where your weight sits in your feet here. Do you tend to sway all of your weight to your heels, or do you tend to sway all of your weight to your toes? Do you favour one part of the foot or the other? And just imagine that you were kind of spreading your toes, spreading the balls of the feet, spreading the heels wider into the floor, like you were making your feet really big and wide, so that your base becomes more stable. And then we can pour the weight evenly through the soles of the feet. If the sensation has shifted or it's started to release a little, you can always play with lengthening your legs that little further by lifting your sit bones just a tiny bit higher towards the sky. Again, be mindful here, we're working with softness still. Taking a couple of breaths, longer here. Go for one more huge breath in. And on your exhale, melt the hands and fingertips down towards the floor. You're going to start to very slowly lift the head and lift the chest, like a halfway lift. Heel toe your feet out so that they come a little bit wider than your hips, turning your heels in and your toes out. So now your heels are about as wide as your hips, if not just an inch or so wider. Start to then bend into your knees. Look forwards, lift the chest as you drop the bum nice and low. And we move into our Malasana, our yogi squat. So there's quite a few options. I will start the timer now so we're not here again for too long. If this shape doesn't feel good for your knees or ankles or whatever you've got going on, come to sit, bring the soles of the feet together, knees wide, and stay relatively upright, maybe slightly leaning forwards just to still target the inner thighs. If it feels okay for you, you can have fingertips onto the floor for a little bit more support, or perhaps you take the hands and pull them through to heart center, elbows moving in towards the inner pads of the knees as opposed to the actual kind of bony part. See if you can draw them down an inch so you're more in that space in between thighs and calves. And then we create a little freedom of the heart lifting, shoulders melting, crown of the head rising. But again, the chin isn't jutting up or all the way down. We're in that nice neutral space that there's length in the back of the neck. Same thing here, notice where your weight is. Does it sit all the way in the heels or all the way in the toes? Try and find maybe a little more evenness. Lifting the heart wide, shoulders pouring down the back. And these shapes, so the toe squat, forward fold, and Malasana, are really great kind of reset shapes. In fact, our whole practice is kind of like a little midday reset. And these are shapes that, might look a little bit crazy, but just to do midday when you feel like your spine is a little sticky, if you've been sat working quite a lot, taking these shapes, or actually if you've been walking a lot as well, these are going to be good for that. Basically, they're just great, which is why I throw them in all of the time. Malasana is a beautiful posture to stretch into the ankles and into the kind of really hard to get to bits of the Achilles, because right down towards the heels. So if you've been doing a lot of walking, again, this will be good for that. This is supposed to be our optimum seat. This is supposed to be a really good place to just kind of rest in, but because we obviously have chairs, we tend not to sit like this or cross-legged day to day to eat or do work. But this shape is very good for posture and alignment of your hips and of your back. As you breathe here, just make sure your shoulders are curling down, so we're not placing any unnecessary pressure through the neck or through the shoulders. Staying here for just another 2 breaths. Good, nice work. Last inhale. Last exhale. And then drop your hands. We're coming back into our forward fold. So pick up the hips. This time, turn your heels out so that your feet are pretty much as wide as the mat. We've got quite a wide stance. We're going to soften the knees once more. Relax down. Depending on the length of the arms or how open your hamstrings are feeling. If the hands are on the floor, you can always again play with turning the palms up. Maybe the fingertips curling in a little bit closer together just to really shrug off the shoulders. And then breathe here. Couple full deep breaths, and feel any kind of congestion through your back just start to melt out. Almost imagine that any stress or anxiety or worries are melting off of your spine, all the way from your sacrum, down your lower back, down your mid back, towards your upper back, and then all the way out through the crown of the head. Go for another 2 breaths. Lovely, last inhale. And last exhale. Good. Begin to look forwards. Take the fingertips to the floor. Back into Malasana, not for very long though. Heels in, toes out, bend your knees. Come to sit down. And then from there, you can either take the hands behind you to help you sit on your bum, or take your hands forwards, tuck your chin, come to sit all the way down. As you come to find your seat, we're going to let the left heel come in towards your body. You might want to spin around so you've got more mat to play with, like maybe you don't have to. So left heel is going to come into the body. I'm pretty sure I mirror you when I'm facing this way, so I'm going to mirror you and see how it goes. And then lengthen your right leg away. So when you look down at your hips, your legs are going out into a V shape from your hips. So we're not out in front like a Janu Shasana. We're coming into this kind of wide dragonfly shape. In fact, pull your left heel, excuse me, in front of your belly button as opposed to in towards your body. So it's actually a little more awkward because your heel is in front of the belly, your knee is all the way wide, and your right leg is all the way wide. So we're not going to have as much ease when we come into a bit more of a twist, because when our heel comes in, it's easier for the pelvis to move, whereas we're kind of keeping the pelvis steady by having the legs in the shape. Take your right hand then on the inside of the right leg. This might be where you grab bolsters or a couple of books you can use for your elbow. We're going to take a side bend, so you might want to support that if you have it. Then from here, breathe in, take the left arm high. And on your exhale, curl the right fingertips down. So again, if you have props, take your elbow on your props, and then you can hold onto the side of the head. As the left arm rises, you can either take it over your ear, you can hold onto the back of the head or let the forearm drape behind it, or even flip it, take the left arm wide, thumb down, bend the elbow, and take a little kind of lazy half bind, so the back of the hand falls into the lower spine. And we just feel this effortless kind of rolling back of the left shoulder. If you don't have props, you're leaning into that right hand and you can let the right ear fall or keep the head lifted. Or if you have the space, you can take your right elbow onto the knee or even the shin, and use your leg as your prop instead. And then again, we pause, settle, and breathe here. We're not in this one for too long. Good. So again, there are quite a few options, and I know I cycle through them quite quickly. But have a play, take your time and explore really what's serving for you and what's calling out to you. So you might kind of breathe with the arm extended for a couple breaths, and then maybe you feel like, okay, I'm ready to let the arm drape behind my head, or maybe I want to take it into that half bind, or maybe I'm happy where I am. So it's a constant exploration of where you're at and what you need and what's serving for you. And so I'm sure kind of all of you know, as you guys all do yoga, a lot of the practice is about completely accepting that every single day is very different, and each moment of the day will also be very different, depending on the weather, depending on any kind of cyclical or natural shifts and cycles. If you're into Ayurveda, we have different times of the day for different energies, and we're not going to get into that today, but something just to be really mindful of. We have these different shifts throughout the day, and I know that for me, definitely, I was talking about this in class this morning. Every day is presenting so many different emotional mood changes and shifts, and that's okay. And we can view our yoga practice as a time to connect to where we're at, to check in, to be really mindful and notice kind of where we're at. And we can use our practice to stabilize ourselves, to find a little more clarity. And I often say, especially through Yin, you can kind of make the decision to lean into what you're experiencing or counter it. So if you're feeling very Yin, if you're feeling very maybe introspective or kind of quiet, if you're leaning into that heaviness and you're finding it quite easy to do that, maybe your counter would be to work into maybe your comfort zones and really have to use your Ujjayi breath, this more energizing breath, to find ease there. So that could be your counter, or perhaps you lean into that and you let yourself be really heavy and soft. And it's the same with more yang. But just honoring that you know your body best. And with awareness of the breath, the body, and the thoughts that swell through the mind, we can start to really create this practice that is nurturing on hopefully a couple different levels. Good. Now from here, we're going to release the left fingertips in front of you. Press down into your left fingertips as you straighten your right arm. Let the head fall. And then slowly, slowly, softly start to lift your spine. Let the head be the last thing that rises. Take your fingertips in front of your hip bones, so they're in line with your hips. Breathe in to lift the chest. Good, and then on an exhale, just take this little easy pad of the hands forwards. Again, you're welcome to grab props here if you want to. And this is quite an awkward shape for the body, so don't worry if you find that the props kind of are too low for you, or they're not supporting you in a way you want them to. If you can, keep both sit bones glued to the floor. Your right bum cheek will feel lighter, but try and keep it down. And then if you can, find softness around your shoulders, letting the heart get heavy as it falls and it drops. Couple breaths here, just to be, just to feel. For a final minute, you can stay in your center, forward fold, or keep the heaviness, so try not to kind of lift up through the spine really quickly, and just start to walk your hands further towards your right leg, so it's more of a twist. You're kind of folding to that space on the inside of the left foot and the inside of the right leg. Again, shrugging off the shoulders, letting your head be nice and heavy. And breathing here. Gonna take one more full long breath in. And one more full long breath all the way out. Good. Tuck your chin, slowly peel yourself all the way up to a torso. And then from here, you're going to take your right hand behind your right knee. Step the right foot flat towards the floor, just in front of your hip. Take your hands behind you so you can lean back into the hands. And you're going to pick up your left leg and cross your left ankle just on top of your right knee. So you've got right foot to floor, left ankle crossed on top of the right thigh. Good. Flex into this left foot and take a little roll back of the shoulders as you lift the chest and feel as if you're pressing your left knee forwards. Yeah, good. To make this deeper, you walk your feet, no, that's not your feet, Erin, they're your hips. You walk your hips closer towards your bottom ankle and then walk your hands closer towards your hips. We're going to be here for literally just 30 seconds with then the option of progressing to something a lot deeper. So enjoy this for a couple of breaths. Just feeling this lift of the chest, the sensation of sending your left knee further forwards. You even just drop the chin for a moment, releasing through the back of the neck. So option is to stay and work with this, or if you want to, we're going to scoot it into a double pigeon. So if you're really close to your bottom heel, just shoot the bum back a little. Then from here, we're going to heel toe this right foot across to the left until your right heel roughly is in line with your left bum cheek. Then from there, you drop the side of the foot down towards the floor. Keep your left ankle bone crossed just on top of your right knee, so it's not twisted over, it's just on top, if anything, slightly on the inside. Then from there, we kind of shuffle the bum back a little, and we're aiming to drop the left ankle on your right knee and your left knee on your right ankle, I think. Yeah, good. Okay, so double pigeon is quite intense. It's one of those ones that's really going to kind of hit deep in the hips. You can always sit up on a prop if you want to take that, and it's a little easier. Be mindful, we're not in half lotus. That happens when you don't flex your foot. When the foot relaxes, it falls to the inside of the knee, and then we're not really working so deeply. Yeah, good adjustment through the outside of the left arm cheek. So flex your foot loads, so it's just the ankle bone. And your feet, if you were to kind of push your hands against them, they're really solid. You know, they're not floppy. They're there, they're steady. Fingertips come to the floor. We roll the shoulders, lift the chest. Now, this might be where you stay. Being in this pose upright is still going to be really deep and intense for your hips. Another prop I didn't mention is you can always support your top knee if you've got a cushion or a blanket. Pop something underneath there. And then it's just a little bit easier to actually let yourself go. If your hips enjoy this shape, or you just fancy it, lean forwards. You might keep the hands to the floor, or you might start to take the hands out in front of you. You can come down onto your elbows. Again, you could grab a prop for underneath your forehead here, or even take your hands together in Anjali Mudra and rest your third eye space on the thumbs if you're all the way down on your forearms. So there's, again, lots of options, and I know I always talk through them quite quickly, but take your time with them. There's lots of time to be. That is what we have in Yin, and also lockdown, we've got time. So let yourself feel into it. You know, take your sweet time to find an extension of the pose that really is serving for you and serving for you in this moment. One big thing in Yin, especially hip openers, is acceptance, and accepting that, you know, obviously flexibility and what you do day to day and how much you practice or how much you stretch your hips, that's all going to have a big play in this practice, or play a big part of this shape and your extension. But eventually, once you've kind of stretched to your muscles capacity, it actually just comes down to bone structure. And I always like to mention this in hip openers because you could have practiced yoga for your whole life and never do other kind of movement patterns that tighten your muscles, and you could feel really soft and you could have done Yin every single day. and be the most flexible person ever, and still be very upright in this shape, or still have your knee right up and towards your armpit. And it might just be that the way your bones are spiraled, the shape just doesn't kind of go with that. If you're quite internally rotated through your hips or your femur bones, these shapes are going to feel a lot harder. So be kind to yourself, be kind to your posture, your shape, your variation, and acknowledge that wherever you are right now is exactly where you should be. We don't need to push or pull or go anywhere else. You can just let yourself be. For the final couple of breaths, knowing that you're only here for another 20 seconds, can you release something? Maybe your shoulders, your jaw. There's a nagging thought in your mind, be aware of it, and then come back to your breath. One more deep breath in. And then on your exhale, tuck your chin, slowly make your way all the way up. You might have to help your legs with your hands, otherwise take your hands behind you, lean into the hands, release the feet out as wide as your mat, and then just drop your knees to the right and to the left a couple of times, little windscreen wiper through the legs. Good. And then from here, we take the other side. So sitting up nice and tall, you're going to lengthen your left leg out and then draw the right heel in front of your belly button so that we've got that kind of nice V shape through the legs, through the thighs. Taking any props that you might have used on your side bend on the first side now to the second side, we'll lift the chest, breathing in. And then exhale, crawl the left fingertips down the inside of the left leg. Again, you might grab props here, so you might have a couple of books or bolsters. I'm not using any props today, so I'll just use my mind bolsters. And take the left elbow onto it, rest the head. Or again, if you have the openness, you could take elbow to thigh or shin if you don't have props. Otherwise, hand to the floor is great. You can keep your head lifted or let it drop. And then again, it's kind of annoying sometimes to have this much control, but let yourself decide or check in with yourself and just take what you need with this right arm. It might be that actually the hand on your right ankle or foot or floor feels really nice, or it might be that you want to lift it to the sky and find lots and lots of space through the side body. You could take the arm above the head, you could bend the elbow, you could lightly drape the forearm behind your head or interlace your fingers together. Or again, you could go the other way and reverse it into a little half bind, taking the back of your right hand into the small of the back. And then just let it be there as you draw the right shoulder down and away from the right ear. Breathing here. Let the belly be soft. Let every muscle in your face begin to release and relax. Okay, nice work. And starting to just kind of encourage yourself to feel almost at peace with where you're at, with whatever might be going on around you. If you have sounds around you, or people or pets, or certain smells, or anything that maybe is a little more stimulating, we let it be just as it is. Let yourself be this steady, grounded, balanced vessel of energy, almost in the center of the space that you're working from. If your eyes are closed, great. Let them get really heavy. If your eyes are open, let the gaze soften. So we're not looking at anything in particular. We're not kind of staring at something or analysing it or picking it apart with your eyes. Just let your eyes be. Let them wander and flicker if that's what they do, or let them be still and glaze over if that's what they do. One more deep breath in. And big breath out, like you're just using that breath to reawaken. Take your right fingertips just in front of the right toes. Straighten your left arm, let the left ear fall to the left shoulder, and then in slow motion, just slide that left hand up, maybe pushing into the floor to help you come up. Take the fingertips in front of your hips. Breathe in, roll the shoulders, pick up the chest. Good, and then exhale, take a couple of little pats of the hands forwards until you feel like, okay, I'm good, that's where I'm at. And then we pause here. So it's almost like you're folding over the big toe side of your front foot, your right foot. And we're here for just a minute in center. Shrugging off the shoulders, keeping a little energy of that left sit bone towards the floor. Breathing wide, breathing full into your back body. Okay, nice. Maybe this is where you sit to marinate for a couple of moments longer. Or maybe you start to take that lazy little walk towards your long leg. But not quite either side of the leg, more just in that space in between the sole of the right foot and the inner seam of your left leg. And then we can really target the breath into the right side of your lower back. Again, keep the shoulders soft so we're not putting any unnecessary pressure or tightness through your shoulders. Taking one more huge inhale. Huge exhale. Tuck the chin, push into your hands. Really take your time here as you feel yourself rising. We're going to lean into the palms. Take your left foot to the floor. Take your right ankle, cross it on top of your left thigh, flex into the foot straight away. And then again, just the first 30 seconds to be and breathe. You can scoot yourself up a little closer, you can lift your chest, roll the shoulders down the back. Initiate this positioning of the foot and of the ankle, so flexing it nice and wide. I quite like to sway here side to side, especially if your glutes are really tight. It's like a little massage for the bum. Good. And then either choosing to stay as you are or slowly journeying your way into your double pigeon. So you've got to make sure that you've got a bit of space first so that your left foot can wiggle across towards the right. Pause, flex the foot, so you come into the little toe side. Then as you let the left knee drop, it almost feels like this right leg wants to cross over the leg. So take the foot, you can just, use your hands to help you. Place the ankle bone towards that space in between the inner knee and the outer thigh. And then pick up your hips and reset them so that you're dropping your bum through the middle. When you look down, you've created this kind of, which way would it be? Triangular shape. So you've got your legs, your hips in center, your legs going out in V shape, and then your shins create the top of that triangle. So they create this smooth straight line. Feet are flexed. Again, make sure that you're not kind of falling into a half lotus. If your body doesn't want to stay kind of put here, even with popping a prop underneath your knee, it might just be a sign that maybe it's a little too much. You come back into your seated pigeon, which is still very intense for the hips. Then it's your choice. Fingertips to the floor. We lift the chest, shrug off the shoulders. You could stay there. You could start to lean the heart forwards. You could stay there. You could start to take your hands out in front of you as well. So lots and lots of options to play around with. Again, if you're on your elbows, you can support your third eye space with the thumbs. It can feel, again, quite nice and stimulating. If you're up in your hands and you're staying upright, you can even take the hands just in the lap or in the legs, shrugging off your shoulders. You can even bring a little massage into your front foot. There are lots of places we can go to in Yin and explore being with and breathing with. And know that obviously we can progress, we can go deeper, but we can also back out a little. We can always lift up higher, we can always come back into that first option and moving yourself further back if that's intense as well. So we're looking to create a deep sensation. We are looking to really kind of work into the outer hips here. When we release tension through the outer hips, we often create a little bit more freedom through the lower back. When the hips are quite tight and short and the glutes are quite tight and short, it really pulls our lower back so it gets very short as well. So by opening this space, we're also opening through the lower spine, which can be a lovely release. So we are looking to create depth and intensity, but we're not looking to create pain ever. So if you find that your knees are really, really painful here, it's definitely not worth pushing through that. Come back into the first option. You can even take a lying down figure 4 stretch, or you can sit cross-legged and take a little lean forwards over that. So there are lots of places to move out from and further into. And that often just comes from, again, being very mindful and exploring the spaces that the body is happy going into. For our final, just not long at all. I'm not going to say how long, but not long at all. For our final couple breaths, you can just keep focusing on your breath, focusing on sensations in the body, or I invite you to take on a mantra of your breath. Inhale, I. Exhale, accept. Inhale, I. Exhale, accept. Last breath in. Last breath all the way out. And then slowly let's begin to rise. Again, you might need to help your legs come out with your hands, or lean back into the hands, stick the feet as wide as the mat, and like before, just kind of sway the knees right to left a couple of times, nice and slow. Good. Take your legs straight out in front of you for me, and just start to kind of shake them into the floor a little, wave the feet right and left. Good, and then from there, we're going to move into a supported bridge. So this is where you need your props. Again, I'm going to, where is Harry Potter when you need him? Okay, so I'm just going to make shift here. You really don't need fancy yoga props unless, of course, you have them. Just a couple of thick books will do the job. Here we go. So once you have your props ready, whatever they are, and you've got any layers that you want, arms that support it, that kind of thing, take them, roll yourself down. You don't have to do it in any fancy way. Just come to lie on your back. And when you're on your back, walk the heels nice and close towards your hips. Take a moment to pick up the hips, lengthen and reset the tailbone, and then draw the hips back to the floor. Take your arms by your sides. Take a full deep breath in. And on your exhale, let's press through the feet. Find a little engagement through the hamstrings and glutes here as you pick up your bum, your lower back, your mid back, maybe some of your upper back. Find the height first and then find your props. Again, if you're not working with kind of a bolster or blocks, you might have to take quite a few books to find a nice height. Or don't worry about the height so much and just keep it nice and low. You're going to rest your sacrum, so the lowest part of your lower back just above your bum, onto whatever props you've got. And then from here, depending on the height of your props, you can keep your knees bent or you can lengthen your legs out. Lengthening the legs after hip openers is quite nice, it's quite freeing. And so you can start to straighten the legs out a little further forwards, or again, keep the knees bent. And then from there, we're going to take the arms up towards the sky And then begin to take them over your head. Allow the elbows to soften out to the sides just a little, so the backs of the hands are falling to the floor and the elbows just a little bent. And then take a few breaths, just breathing into this freedom, washing through the spine. Again, you can stay here, or we're not in this last shape for that long at all. You can start to move your knees towards your chest, lifting the feet, and then maybe start to kick the legs towards the sky. This is one of my favorite shapes. This is a kind of like a Viparita Karani, so legs up the wall, but they're floating, which I quite like. Makes you feel free and spacious. And as the legs float, again, it's up to you. It's your practice. You can find complete stillness, or you can start to just slowly circle your feet and ankles, stretching your toes. You could soften the knees or straighten the legs. You could even split the legs really wide and out into a V shape for a couple breaths. That can feel lovely after our hip opener, just to bring some space into the inner thighs. If you've got the space, negotiate with furniture, houseplants, pets, walls. Breathe openly and freely into your belly. Really let it fill, let it flush with breath. Good. Last breath in. Last breath all the way out, and then we'll lift the legs up to the top. Bend your knees one at a time. Place one ball of the foot and then heel the other ball of the foot and then heel. Big circle of the arms all the way around until they come by your side. You're going to pick up your hips just enough so you can slide your props from underneath you. Roll onto your back and then give your knees a little squeeze into your chest. Pick any final movements that the body might be calling out for. A hug, a sway, a happy baby. Even just kind of lifting the arms and the legs and shaking them and freeing them up, whatever it is that you need. And then when you're ready, let's find a really big, spacious Shavasana. So nearly spilled my water everywhere. So my suggestion is a big starfish today. So taking your legs even wider than your mat and your arms really wide by your side, feet flopping out, palms facing up. But if you have a preferred shape for Shavasana, take that instead. Okay, good. So once you're there and you're comfy and you're settled and you feel supported, close the eyes and give yourself this time. Give yourself this space just to be and to feel and to experience whatever it is that comes up for you in these final quiet little pockets of our practice. Feel any textures on your skin, of your clothes or of your yoga mat. Any warmth or coolness that might be in the space around you. Perhaps the sunlight is hitting your body or your face, or maybe you're in a cooler spot. Give yourself permission to fully release here. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, just being. And letting that sensation of simply being fill you up. And gently begin to reawaken through the body. Drinking perhaps a fuller, deeper breath in through the nose. And just clearing with a big sigh through the mouth. Maybe you stay still for a few breaths longer, or maybe your body starts to break the stillness, wriggling fingertips and toes. Maybe you swallow, maybe you just kind of wiggle the face a little, maybe you go really big and stretch the arms above the head, or grow really small and pull the knees to the chest. Maybe both, maybe neither. Take about 2 to 3 breaths to make your way up to a comfortable seat, however you want to get up there, but take your time, honouring that there is never any rush. And when you find that tall seat, we're going to press the hands straight together in front of the heart space, closing the eyes, and taking this moment to kind of seal all of the goodness into the heart, to enclose this feeling of appreciation for yourself, love for the self for making it onto your mat in a day. We're going to finish our practice with our 1 round of Brahmari humming bee breath. You don't have to join me, but the invitation is there if you fancy it. We start with a sigh, so just big inhale through your nose. Big open mouth, let it go. And then on your next exhale is a hum, so we breathe in to prepare. On your inhale, send your prayer, your mudra to the sky. And on the exhale, let's bring the thumbs to the forehead for kind thoughts, connecting your thumbs to your lips for kind words, and connecting your thumbs to your heart for kind actions. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful practice with me this afternoon. Namaste.